10:12. Welcome back, everybody. The third week of testimony in the Karen Read trial gets underway tomorrow.
So here to break down what we've learned in the past week and also what all this could mean is local attorney Katherine Loftus. Good morning, Katherine. Thank you so much for being here with us on a holiday. We are very, very grateful.
Good morning, Jeff and Lauren. Thank you for having me. And happy Mother's Day to my mom and all the mothers out there.
Of course.
All right, so let's just dig right in. Did Brian Albert's testimony, you think, have any bearing on the direction of this trial? I mean, specifically when he said that John O'Keefe never even went into the house.
I think it's interesting with saying this with the caveat that he hasn't been subject to cross-examination yet, which is going to happen tomorrow morning. I think his testimony is indicative of where the Commonwealth's case is going to go. We had both Nicole Albert, his wife, testify, as well as he testified later Friday afternoon that John O'Keefe never entered the house. And I think that's going to be likely the testimony that comes out through most of the witnesses who were in the house that night. So I do think it certainly has an impact. It's the Commonwealth and the defense are presenting really two separate cases. One with the theory that he went in the house and one that they didn't. So I think if you have a number of witnesses who say that he did not go into the house, it certainly has a bearing on how the jury perceives what happened that night.
All right, so we're 2 weeks into this trial now. Which witness so far in this trial has had the most impact, do you think? Can you kind of weigh that at this point?
I would say it's really difficult to say because we're not looking at one particular set of information that's come out. There's no major bombshells. I think that there's some significant problems with the police witnesses who testified the first week of trial, kind of outlining the mistakes that were made, things not put in the report. So it's almost, we talk about in court as the evidence is a brick, not a wall. They're little pieces that have different amounts of impact, and when you put them all together, they become more of an issue to the jury. So I think the police witnesses, I think that Julie Albert, the defense, did a really good job of catching her in some discrepancies. And it'll be interesting. I don't expect that those will be the last of any witnesses that we see some interesting information come from.
But Katherine, how would you rate the prosecution and the defense in terms of strategy? I mean, I got to be frank. I've heard people say that the defense is very engaging. The prosecution could be a little lackluster at times, and we have to continue engaging a jury to make sure that they get all this information. So what do you make of each side? So
from my perspective, I think that the Commonwealth is certainly almost anyone who's watching this case, I think, would say that Attorney Jackson, Little, Yannetti are a little bit more engaging with the jury, their lines of questioning. The Commonwealth is a little bit more subdued, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. We don't always want everybody to be showman and bombastic. I think what the Commonwealth is really trying to do is not make as much of a spectacle out of the questioning, but to really try to lay the foundation, because that's the strength of their case. What they're trying to essentially present to the jury is, don't pay attention to all of the other assertions and the questioning. Look at the evidence. And he's doing that in a pretty methodical way. I will say you have to, straddle the line a little bit, because you don't want to lose the jury's attention if you're being too methodical and too slow. So there is that balance that I think the Commonwealth has to speed it up, as we've heard the judge say several times. We don't want the jury here until July, and I don't think anybody does, nor do the jurors want to be there. So they could speed it up a little bit.
Right. I mean, one thing that is for sure, this has captured the attention of the public. Yeah. Who is watching this trial, and it does continue now into its third week. Katherine Loftus, thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you this week, too. If you want to watch everything that's happening in court, head to NBC10Boston.com. We will continue to carry all of the testimony from the Karen Read trial live on our website, over on NECN, and on our streaming platforms. All right.